Hello everyone, and welcome to the Peepsqueaks Storytime with me, Little Bo. This is the story of Cinderella. Let's begin. Once upon a time, there was a lovely girl called Cinderella. She was very pretty and very kind. She lived with her dad, her stepmother, and her two stepsisters. One day, Cinderella's dad announced the news that he was leaving on a ship to seek his fortune in far-off lands and would not be back for ages. He made them all promise to look after each other until his safe return. Now this all sounds fine, but for one small thing. Cinderella's stepmother was wicked, and her stepsisters were very ugly and very smelly. They were so mean that as soon as her father had left for sea, they made her their servant. She even slept in the fireplace amongst the cinders. This is why they called her Cinderella. Her only friends were the mice and her little brown dog, Jack. One day, when she was cleaning the windows and scrubbing the floors, there was a knock at the door. It was a messenger from the royal palace. Prince Charming was having a masked ball, a really big party with masks, and they were all invited. Cinderella was very excited, and she rushed to tell her stepmother. But her stepmother, who was wicked, said, You shall not go to the ball. You shall stay with the cinders where you belong." Cinderella went back to the fireplace and she cried. The night of the ball arrived, and everyone but Cinderella was going. She could hear the music from the palace through the window as she swept the parlour floor. All of a sudden, there was a really bright flash of light, and Cinderella turned to see a beautiful lady. "Who are you?" she asked. "I am your fairy godmother, Cinderella, and you shall go to the ball," she replied. Then Cinderella watched in wonder as with a wave of her magic wand she changed the mice into 4 white horses and Jack the dog into a tall coachman. Her fairy godmother took a pumpkin from the shelf, and with another wave of her magic wand, a gold carriage appeared right before her eyes. Then she asked Cinderella to close her eyes, and when she opened them, her scruffy old clothes had changed into a beautiful dress fit for a princess, and her once bare feet were covered with sparkly shoes made completely of glass. Cinderella was really happy and thanked her fairy godmother. As the carriage was leaving for the ball, her fairy godmother said, "Cinderella, you must return home by the last strike of midnight, for at this time the magical spell will be broken and everything will go back to the way it was." Cinderella arrived at the ball, making sure she wasn't spotted by her wicked stepmother and 2 ugly stepsisters. And when Prince Charming saw Cinderella in her lovely dress and glass shoes, he asked her to dance. Well, they danced and laughed all night. In fact, Cinderella was having such a good time, she forgot to look at the clock until she heard the first strike of midnight. "Oh no!" she cried as she ran down the palace steps. The prince ran after her, but she was quick and had disappeared. All that was left was a little glass shoe. Cinderella ran home. Her dress had turned to rags and the spell was broken. In the days that followed, Prince Charming searched high and low for the girl he had danced with, the owner of the glass shoe, because when he found her, he would marry her. But no matter where he went, it didn't fit anyone who tried. When he finally arrived at the home of Cinderella, he found the ugly sisters, who tried and tried to squeeze their smelly feet into it, but lucky for him, it did not fit. Then the prince caught sight of the servant girl and asked her to try on the shoe. The ugly sisters tried to get in his way, but they did not stop him. Cinderella slipped her foot into the sparkly glass shoe, and it fit her perfectly, as she knew it would. Cinderella and Prince Charming were married the very next day, and they lived happily ever after. The end.